Hey, welcome everybody. In this video, we're going to talk about the Bass Pro Shops U.S. Open National Bass Fishing Amateur Team Championship. And that is coming up on Saturday, this very coming Saturday and weekend. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because when I first heard about it roughly a year ago, it kind of, I was kind of really had to take a step back and just shake my head and think to myself, man, what's going on here? And since that time, I'd completely forgotten about it until just recently. Now that this tournament's coming this weekend, well, now it's starting to pop up in some press releases and so forth. So I wanted to dig into it a little bit because it's just, I completely don't understand what is going on in the tournament world now because of this tournament. So let me just explain to you first what this tournament is. Basically what it is a glorified boaters appreciation tournament. And what I mean by that is all the boat groups that are owned by Bass Pro Shops. So that would include Ranger, which I'm on their pro staff, Ranger boats, Triton boats, Nitro boats, something called Tahoe, and then a couple other boat groups. All these, you have to, the reason why it's a boaters appreciation tournament is because you have to be an owner of one of those brands. Okay, you cannot own a Skeeter and be in this tournament. You cannot own a Phoenix bass boat and be in this tournament. So in essence, it should be called the Bass Pro Shops U.S. closed tournament, because it's not. And here's another reason why it should be called the Bass Pro Shops U.S. closed tournament, because, and this is kind of at the root of how it rubbed me the wrong way. But before, okay, I'm starting out kind of sour on this thing, but please, there is some good benefit going on with this tournament. So don't get me wrong, I'm not completely like trying to tear this into this tournament, because there is some good going on here, and we're going to get into the good, the bad, and the ugly on this thing. But just let me explain more about this. So the other part that it's closed to is not only you have to be a owner of one of those boat brands, but you also have to qualify as an amateur fisherman, which, to be considered an amateur for this tournament, you cannot be an MLF touring pro. It didn't make any specifics if it was the pro circuit or the Bass Pro Shops tour or both. It didn't really get into that. But I'm not eligible, and we'll get into that in the next two, okay? The other one is if you have ever paid an entry fee of $2,500 or greater, you are not eligible to be in this weekend's tournament. And the third thing is if you have a lifetime earnings of over $100,000 in bass tournament winnings, you are not eligible for this tournament, okay? So it truly is, like in the title of the thing, it is an amateur tournament. There are other amateur tournaments around the country where they put restrictions on the talent level in tournaments. So it's nothing new we haven't seen before. But what really just makes me just shake my head is the payout, okay? And let me just continue explaining this some more, okay? So now we know who can be in this tournament and who cannot. So what they did is they had like 6 or 7 qualifying tournaments around the country, and you had to do well enough in one of these qualifying tournaments then to advance to this weekend's amateur team championship. And it is a team tournament, meaning you choose your partner to fish with. You both fish together for a 5-fish limit, and it doesn't matter if Billy Bob in the front caught all 5 and Bubba Louie in the back caught none of them. Doesn't matter who caught them. prize, the expenses are generally split between the competitors, and then the payout is split between the two team members. So, anyways, okay, I kind of lost my train of thought, but okay, so you got all these qualifying tournaments. These fishermen qualify to get into this tournament, which is on Table Rock Lake, by the way, which is, that is like the home base range of Bass Pro Shops, because Bass Pro Shops originated there in southern Missouri, and it seems like a very, very natural fitting place to have this tournament. So, and it's centrally located in the United States. I mean, Table Rock is equidistant from, east to west and so forth. So, good location for the tournament, I would have to say. The other thing, okay, now, you got these, back on my train of thought here. So now this weekend will be the finals. They're this championship tournament. And obviously there'll be prizes, payouts to quite a bit of the field, but I don't think even half the field. So a lot of these guys will go home with nothing, but it is a good payout. And let's start with the good, okay? We're going to go the good, the bad, and ugly, okay? Just like the Clint Eastwood classic Western movie. So, anyways, the good for these anglers is the payout and the entry fee that they had to put up to get into this. Okay, so the payout. Let's start with the entry fee. The entry fee is $450 per angler, so that's $900 per boat. However, if one of the participants is between the ages of 12 and 17, that angler's entry fee is $250. So you get a little discount for bringing out a kid. And even better is any child under the age of 12 is free. So you could be an adult, pay $450, sign up your kid, your 11-year-old kid for nothing, and you get in the tournament for $450. But probably in most cases, it's probably $900 per boat. You probably get two adults in on it. So $900 per boat. So, and in these and they paid us in the qualifying tournament. And in the qualifying tournament, they can win $50,000 for first place. Not bad for just $1,000. I mean, not even $1,000 entry fee. And I'm not sure what the second place, third place, and what the payout structure was at those qualifiers. But those qualifiers, they took 40. I believe it was 40 teams from each qualifying tournament and put them in this Table Rock Championship tournament. And guess what they're fishing for first place? Okay? Guess what they are fishing for? First place. This is what's driving me crazy. Because why can't MLF pull something like this off? Why can't Bassmaster pull this off? What in the hell is going on here? These guys are fishing for, they each win a Toyota Tundra pickup truck and a 21-foot rigged out bass boat. Each of these guys. And you're probably thinking, God, that's pretty nice. But no, I'm not done. The best part is the first place team splits $1 million cash. They get these boats and trucks, and they get $1 million cash to split for a $900 entry fee. Okay, so is it winner take all? No, it's $4.3 million they're handing out this weekend. Second place is $200,000. Third is $50,000, and I think they're paying 50 spots. I mean, these numbers I took right off their website today. So it's like, man, how are they doing this? It's like, how these fishermen, they are definitely on the good side of this deal. Definitely on the good side of this deal. Wow. Which is why I'm like, when I first heard about this last year, I'm like, the headline, the first thing you see is the payout that they're talking about. It's like, and the first thing that goes into any pro's mind is, oh shit, I got to get into this. And then, but of course, once you dig into it, you realize that as a pro, you're not eligible. So that's probably another good thing for these fishermen in this tournament, they're not going to be competing against Kevin Van Dam. They're not going to be competing against Jacob Wheeler. They're not going to be competing against, Seth Fighter. They're not going to be competing against these guys. Surely there's awesome fishermen in this field, but also surely there's some guys that probably aren't quite so awesome, but definitely these guys are loving it. Really, they got to be loving it. So good for these guys. Congratulations to every one of these guys that got into that tournament, and that's just exciting, very exciting for them. Wah for me and the other pros that couldn't get into it, but good for these amateurs. All right, so what else is good? Okay, let's talk about what Johnny Morris said. Okay, if you go to the website for this tournament, there is like a 13-minute clip of Johnny Morris talking about the tournament, and he brought up some other good things about this tournament. One, basically, and this is exactly what he said, this will be a celebration of our history. Probably, and using the term "our," he must be meaning the Bass Pro Shop legacy and the history of Bass Pro Shops, maybe. But celebrating whatever is always fun, and that's a good thing, right? Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate good times. Let's celebrate fun. We've had this pandemic, still kind of have it. Man, let's celebrate something, man. Let's celebrate the history of the Bass Pro Shops kingdom. Why not? That's a good thing. Anytime you celebrate, find reason to celebrate, man, do it. Celebrate responsibly. Okay, responsibly. And you know who you are, who got to remind themselves of that. All right, so here's another good thing. And this is another thing that Johnny Morris pointed out in this video is it's a way that they can say thank you to all the great customers they've had over the years, which, a boaters appreciation tournament, that is a nice gesture to all these boat owners, all these customers who have bought their boats over the years. It's a nice gesture. And it's really a nice gesture when you're giving away $1 million first place. That is a really nice gesture. Thank you, Johnny Morris, for doing this for these guys. That's freaking awesome. Third, we already kind of touched on it, fun. Johnny Morris said we want to have fun. And fun is always in the good category. So these guys are going to have fun. Some of these guys are going to have the tournament of their lives, whether they finish in the money or not. And obviously the guys that win are going to have the tournament of their lives. It's just going to be a lot of fun for a whole lot of those people. And then the last thing on the good category is there is going to be money donated to conservation funding for fisheries management. Now, they didn't get into great detail as to where this, what fisheries management programs and that sort of thing, but they did go as far as to say this: 1/3 of all the entry fees from the fishermen will go into this donation. Then Bass Pro Shops will put in an equal amount, and also Toyota, who must be another sponsor of this tournament, will also equal that amount. So in essence, you'll have whatever all the entry fees combined add up to be, that's how much money will be put into this conservation funding. And that helps everybody that loves a fish. And actually that helps even people that don't fish benefit from money that goes into wildlife funding, fishing funding, and so on. So great thing, great idea. Thanks for doing that. Okay, now we've done the good. I hope I didn't forget anything. Probably did. That's me. Now, the bad. Okay, the bad. All right. And the bad comes from a selfish viewpoint here. And the bad is, doggone it, I can't get into this tournament. I was not eligible. All this money is out there to win. It's be like it'd be like a game changer. $1 million first place would be a life changer for a lot of, I mean, for me, anyways. And a lot of pros would, I mean, it'd be more money than they'd ever won in their life in one tournament. So it's bad for the pros. Wah, wah, wah. After all, we get everything we get all our boats, motors, trolling motors, electronics, lures, rods, reels for free, right? So, wah, wah, wah. That's not true, by the way. Maybe for the upper, like, 3%, but the journeymen like myself, not quite. Anyways, all right. And here's another potentially bad thing. It's kind of alarming to me. And this, again, is from a pro's viewpoint. But why do they feel as though they don't need professionals in this tournament to drive interest in the tournament, to market the tournament, to promote the tournament, to bring fans and a large fan viewership to the tournament? Why do they think they don't need pros for this? And that concerns me, because are pros obsolete? I mean, is our marketing value diminishing that much that we're not even needed for this? I do know that on site they're bringing in Bill Dance, Roland Martin, Kevin Van Dam, and Jimmy Houston. They're bringing them in on site for the tournament. But they're not fishing in the tournament, but there's some star power there. But they're not in the tournament. And that's a big difference. So are we obsolete? Is our marketing potential like decreasing? It almost, I mean, that's what this is telling me. Pros, we don't need you. We can market, promote this thing, and get monster ratings, monster response without you guys. That's just kind of alarming, and it is what it is. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, I know there's always going to be pro staffs. There's always going to be pro staffs on a lot of fishing industry companies. They're going to still have pro staffs, but are we just going to be devalued by this? If this pulls off really well, is that going to devalue us pros? I mean, nobody likes to be devalued. Next, all right, the ugly. What could I be thinking about for the ugly? I got a good joke there, but I just don't know these guys well enough to joke like this on social media. So. The ugly, all right. And this is like, I'm projecting this as possibly being the ugly. Because there's not any ugly right in front of me right now. But this tournament is going to air live on NBC over the weekend, okay? Who is going to tune into this tournament other than family and friends of those involved in the competition? Because there is not any star power competing here. For example, let's draw some analogies from other sports. If you had a golf tournament full of amateurs that nobody knows about except maybe at a local level, maybe the ace of Toledo Bend, maybe a couple of hotshot Toledo Bend anglers. Well, maybe they have a little following there in Toledo Bend. You might have somebody from the Potomac River that's like unbelievable on Potomac River, and he might have a little bit of following. But you don't have the star power. You don't have, see, all these pros bring in their own fan base. They bring a fan base of theirs into the mix when they enter a tournament. So if you're going to turn into a golf tournament full of a bunch of amateurs you've never heard of, you're going to have to be super into golf or into that golf course to pay attention to it, I would think. Or what else? A tennis. Let's say there's a tennis competition of just a bunch of amateurs. Who's going to tune into that? Hardly anybody. I mean, on the other hand, well, can you say that college football is an amateur sport and tons of people tune into that? But really, those are names. Those are household names. Okay, Clemson Tiger. That's a household name with a brand and with a brand following. Freaking the Georgia Bulldogs. Household name in college football with a huge brand following. So they really have, even though, and plus you do have names on these college teams that they get promoted, they get talked about and discussed, and Heisman Trophy, Heisman Trophy candidate this guy, Heisman Trophy candidate that guy. So you got names, you got college names, you got names of players. So there is some drawing power to that. There is reason for the average college football fan to tune in to a big college football game, if you're into that, which there are a lot of people into that. But who's into amateur fishing and tuning into a bunch of amateurs that you've never heard of? See, if I tune into this, which I can't because my local satellite TV provider is having a contract issue with NBC right now. So NBC's not, they took NBC off the satellite menu of channels, so I can't even watch NBC. But if I could watch this tournament, I would. Strictly from like judging it from a marketing standpoint. How well are they marketing this? How well are they covering this? How well are they pulling this off? Who's watching it? Yeah, the fishing would interest me as well, but I'd be just as much interested in the behind the scenes of putting this production on the air, pulling it off, and just seeing what they might have to say about pulling this whole tournament off, okay? So that's it. That's the good, the bad, and ugly. Why? And the question is, how are they pulling this off? How are they doing this huge payout? I mean, are they just taking marketing dollars that they would spend elsewhere and putting it into this, and that's their advertising budget, or part of their advertising budget? I mean, that's got to be part of it, right? But still, what these guys are putting up for entry fees and what is being paid out just is so light years ahead of any national pro trail right now. It's just makes you want to just anyways, again, congratulations to Bass Pro Shops and the sponsors putting this on. I hope it goes well. I hope they get the viewership. That's the ugly part that I'm worried about, but I hope they get it and turn the ugly into a beautiful. And I hope I'm wrong about the devaluation of pros and competitions, because hope I'm wrong about that. But I don't know. But anyhow, dang, and congratulations, whoever wins this, man. Good for you, dude. Dudes, could be two, or women. There's women in it too. And they have, the other interesting thing is they have like categories. They have like female teams. So if you're like the top female team, you get a prize. They have father-child teams. If you're that, I mean, you could not only could you win the overall, but you could also win like the father-child cash, and so on. So anyhow, cool deal. I feel like I'm left out, but whatever. It's my own damn fault. So, but it is my fault, right? Well, wait a minute. How is that my fault? I don't know. Whatever. Wish I was in it, but I don't want to be an amateur, so I'm glad I'm a pro. So I guess I don't want to be in it because I want to be a pro. That's enough. You guys heard enough from me. Over.